Hey, it's Clay at claytrader.com. This will be the weekly review of the Power Profit Scan portion of the Inner Circle subscription, which is the newsletter that I send out on a weekly basis to members' emails. I did not do this last week. I was actually out in Colorado, and you can see a picture of that. And I show this picture because I was actually out there hanging out with members of the very community that I'm about to talk about in regards to this email newsletter. So, I mean, when I say community, it really is a community to the point where I've hung out with many members all around the country, and this is just one instance of it. Last week out in Colorado, we did some hiking together, went up this crazy steep summit, and we all made it. But yeah, I mean, community truly is not just some sort of marketing term. It really is a community for all the members that are part of it. But let's get to these scans, and again, I apologize for not doing this review last week. So what you see here is behind the scenes after you would log into your account, and like I said, I do email it to all members, but if you just want to go through the site, I have all the different week scans outlined here. So we are going to be focused today on the week of 8/27. A couple things of disclosure from the get-go. First off, am I implying that every single alert that I send out is going to be huge wins and wins at all? Absolutely not. Nobody is perfect. No scan is perfect. So I don't want to come across like everything is going to always be a winner or anything like that. But it also goes to show why we always preach and why just in general, understanding risk management, risk analysis is so important because losers happen. Being wrong happens. Faulty scans happen. But when you understand risk and how to control risk and keep losses small, wins also do happen. So when those wins do happen, by order, if you keep your risk under control, the wins can do their thing in terms of wiping away the risk. So just keep that in mind. And then also, like I said, we're going to be talking about 8/27. I realize that's a couple weeks ago, but the reason for that is I wanted to give these charts plenty of time to play out. And then also just to keep it fair to the paying members. I don't want to be doing things that are still potentially in play because obviously that's not fair to those people that have paid, and then all of a sudden it's free on YouTube and all that sort of stuff. So with that disclosures out of the way, let's get to it and take a look at the week of 8/27. The first scan I want to look at that went out was I put it in the bounce continuation category, and it was on ticker symbol JNUG, so the ETF. And as you see down here, the pattern had formed. It was looking like some sort of potential bottom was in. So it's just quickly or, simply a question of, could the price push through the 850 mark, which was essentially being represented there by that red line. So let's see how this one played out. A quick few things here. As a point of context, these emails always go out over the weekend. So what you see here was what the chart looked like up until Friday, the end of the week. And then the next day you'll see is the first trading day of the next week, Monday in this case. Sometimes, obviously, if the market's closed on Monday or whatever. But that's what's going on here. So the emails go out over the weekend, and then what we're tracking is, what happens, the following week. So as you can see here, here's a pattern mapped out, and let's see how this one started to play out. So on Monday, you can see I actually got a nice move there. Plenty of opportunity for potentially people to get in if they wanted to. The next day, a gap up, and then things just turn back around. So in this situation, it did make it an 8.5% move, but I also wanted to show this one because I don't want, like I said, to come across like everything's always some sort of massive winner or anything like this. Was this one a winner? Maybe depending on how you played it. Maybe it was a break even. Definitely would have just been a small loss at a worst case scenario because, it's not like it didn't ever move in anybody's direction. It moved in the, up 8.5%. But at the same time, by no means was it some sort of, monster mover or anything like that. So, this is just an example of, how the market works. And, sometimes nothing is going to be perfect. No scan is always going to produce double-digit percentages or anything like that. But this is one that shows, it moved, but it didn't really move. So yeah, I would call this one possibly a small winner, maybe a break even, or worst case scenario, a small loser because it did move in, people's favor to an extent, but it's not like it got any sort of true follow through, but that's just how trading goes. The next scan to look at here was a volume alert. So just in that category, and pretty much the chart was showing some potential signs of a bottom right here. And then as I noted, the volume started to, increase. So it became a matter of, hey, are things waking up or what's going on here? So let's see how this one played out. Again, this is what the chart looked like going into the weekend. So the next, candle you'll see does represent the opening day. So yeah, let's see how this one went. And you can see absolutely no waiting around at all needed. On Monday, opened up, gave people an opportunity if they wanted to try to get in right around the 40-ish cent range, and then went up there and turned back around, but essentially a 30%, 36% profit window. Now, does that mean everybody played it perfectly and got 36%? I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying there was a lot of wiggle room. So maybe you only got, let's say, 20% out of it. Maybe you only got 15% out of it. When you consider this all happened in basically 1 day, 2 days, it did hang up there even for the third day, which is represented by, that candle right there. Point being, it hung up around that area before pulling back quite a while where, you could have very realistically, let's just say, got 15% out of it. And sure, 15% isn't like the video I posted a couple weeks ago where it was showing some 300% move, but still 15% in 3 days. I would encourage you to walk into your bank, and I love this analogy because there's nothing more realistic, but walk into your bank, say, "Excuse me, bank teller, I would like 15% return on my money in the next 3 days." And they will look at you like you are an insane person. They're like, "Well, sir or ma'am, our bank CDs are only 1.5% for 6 months. So 15% in 3 days, you got to keep things in perspective." But like I said, 15% is more on the modest. 50% assumes that you played it less than half right because you had a profit window to work with of actually 36%. But overall, definitely a nice little mover, especially when you consider the amount of time it took, where you didn't have to wait very long. It got to it right away. The final scan to look at here is going to be, sorry about that. That was the one we just looked at. But here's a new one to look at here, and that is ticker symbol MDXG. And this was in the technical pattern category. And as you see noted down here, a symmetrical triangle had formed. So let's see how this one played out on the next following days. So again, going into the weekend, here's what the chart looked like. And then let's, so right there started to show some signs of life. Actually peeked its head up above the trend line. Once again, peeked its head up around the trend line. So kind of definitely not an explosive break, but plenty of opportunities where the price is showing it's got some strength. It's showing it's trying to break through. It pulled back on a couple of times to give plenty of, entrance point opportunities. And then right there, finally decided that it did indeed want to break out. Little consolidating right there. Nothing drastic, no huge minor lows or anything like that. And then made a move up to there before pulling back a little bit for 25%. Now, the thing with that is, this is where things kind of give and take. Even this pullback here that you see starting to play out was nothing drastic. Sure, it was a little bit, but it's not like the price crashed down below this breakout trend line or, back below 450 or anything like that. So for some people, depending on their strategy, and this is where it depends, they were definitely rewarded for their patience as it then returned around and then boomed up there for a 73.6% move. Again, am I saying that all members made that? I'm not saying that at all. I'm just illustrating that, how people do on these, it depends on how exactly you want to play it. It depends on your risk management structure. Like I said, some people, maybe they were more around the 20% range. Other people, depending on their strategy, if they were willing to wait a little bit longer, because again, this pullback right here, that was by no means anything drastic or, crazy. Had the price come all the way down here and then gone all the way up there, and if I was still sitting here saying 73.6, okay, that would be very misleading on my part because that would have been a very drastic move downwards before it all of a sudden recovered. But obviously, that didn't happen. Very, very modest little pullback here before, heading back upwards. So depending on how you played it, anywhere from 25% up to basically 74%. So definitely a very nice technical pattern breakout for members. Regardless, again, going back to the bake analogy, even if you just got, let's say, 20% on it, still, this breakout happened within basically a week and a half. So go into your bank, ask for 20% return on your money in a week and a half, and take your phone with you and snap a picture or do a video of their reaction because that would be pretty priceless. So overall, a very nice week. Like I said, I think it was 2 weeks ago now, I posted one with a 300% move. So, compared to that, yeah, maybe doesn't look as nice, but you can have, three-digit percentage moves every single week. And anybody proclaiming that is, odds are, misleading you. But regardless, good solid week for the scans. Finally, before I go, if you are interested in receiving these scans, you can just go to claytrader.com/inner circle or just go to claytrader.com and then up at the top of the page, find the inner circle section there. The cost is $99 per year. Per year, not per month, not per quarter, per year. And if you pull out a calculator and do the calculation, you will see that actually breaks down to $1.90 per week. So $1.90 per week. Can you sacrifice out? Can you maybe not drink a cup of coffee or not do something that costs $1.90? If you can say, yeah, I can sacrifice $1.90, then you can afford it. And like I said, you get a lot of other stuff other than the newsletter. There is the live trading chat room that comes with it too. And usually this is the thing that gets the most talk, especially on social media, because I keep things updated there about the live. So the newsletter, which is the Power Profit Scan, usually gets kind of lost in the shuffle. And that was the idea way back when I started doing these videos, just to make people aware that, there is also this part of the subscription. So yeah, you get all this stuff for, again, $99 per year. Breaks down to $1.90 per month, and then there's also an app too, so you can, it's not like you have to be chained to your computer. You can keep up to date on things on your mobile phone. So if there are any other questions or anything like that, just leave a comment section or leave it down in the comment section. Contact me through the site. I'd be happy to help you out.